Good morning, everyone. Pam Jacobson here, your host of Three Things You Need to Know. Welcome. Today, we're in week 14 of our ongoing resilience series. And as always, I think the timing for this is perfect and absolutely critical. So, the news for COVID is not great for the world, essentially, and not great for all of us coming up on holidays and times when we would be preparing to gather and spend time with family and friends. We're faced with increasing numbers of COVID cases. And now more than ever, it is absolutely critical that you take the responsibility for creating resilience. And that's what this last 14 weeks has been about is, well, what the heck can you do to become resilient and to really optimize your health so that your chances of getting the virus are certainly lessened. And probably more importantly, if you do happen to get the virus, that you have minimal effect. And certainly, not the more serious effects that we're seeing for people who are being hospitalized. So again, a lot of the responsibility for this resilience lies with you. And I think the coronavirus is really just the maybe the first experience that we've had in our culture of where we've got deficiencies in what we are doing as individuals to take care of our health. We're relying very heavily on our conventional medical system, which is really just not designed to deal with the chronicity of disease that we each individually create in ourselves through lack of any kind of daily self-care plan or an understanding of the things and the responsibilities that we have to take care of our health. We generally wait until we're sick, and then we seek help from our medical practitioners. Oftentimes that's too late, and most of the time there's not anything in the conventional arsenal to help us with those things. So for those of you just joining, welcome. For the last 14 weeks, we've been talking about resilience, and I would really encourage you when you have a chance to go back and view the shows from those other weeks, because this has been a progressive series. Each show stands on its own, so you'll get plenty of information today that you can start using right away. But I do encourage you to go back. We laid sort of the informational blueprint in the first few weeks. We then moved into helping you transition from being interested in becoming resilient to being committed, right? It takes a commitment. This is about doing the work. This is your responsibility for the things that you would do every single day to become more resilient. And so for the last few weeks, we've been talking about what the work is. And, this is laid out in sort of a 4-pillar health foundation fashion. And we've already talked about the first two really most important pillars: sleep optimization and stress response management. Last week, I interviewed health coach Crystal Springy, and we talked about how she works with her clients in helping them to develop a good stress response management program. I highly encourage you to go back and view that. A couple of weeks ago, I interviewed Dr. Ashley Curtis from the University of Missouri, who's a sleep researcher. She helped us to understand a little bit more around the science of sleep. Today, I'm going to talk about pillar number 3, which is movement. Notice that I did not say exercise. I said movement, and we're going to talk about what exactly that means and what you need to do in that category. And next week, my plan is to interview an expert in exercise and exercise physiology. And she has a very progressive company that I think you'll be interested in knowing more about. She can work with people all over the country, helping them with their movement routine. So let's get started with today. I will put my contact information in the chat area as usual. For those of you who don't know me, you can go to my website or reach out to me through email or phone to get more information. Anything I talk about on the program today, I can certainly help you with your questions and help you get access to anything I might discuss that you're interested in. So I wanted to first just quickly talk about the science behind movement. Most of us think of movement as exercise. And the reason why I kind of avoid the word exercise is because it conjures up, for me anyway, it conjures up a couple of things that I find problematic. This this sort of perception that I have to have a block of time, usually an hour, in my day to be able to do this. A perception of that I have to go someplace and have some kind of a destination like a gym or a class, for instance, that I might need some kind of special equipment like weights, for instance, or maybe bands, or it depends on the class. Yoga, I need a mat and I need blocks, and I require special clothing, right? So there's all of these things that can become barriers and excuses that we make for not moving. When the reality is that none of that is true. You can move your body every single day in multiple ways without the need for any of those things. An hour of time, a place to go, special clothing, special equipment. And that's what really what I want you to walk away with today is how important it is that you move your body every day differently than your normal routine. This is outside of, I'm already pretty active at work. It doesn't matter. That's your normal daily routine already. This is over and above what our normal daily routine is. So the idea is that we need to move daily in a variety of ways, and it can be effective for it to be accumulated versus done all at one time. And actually, there was a meta-analysis. A meta-analysis is a study that looks at a bunch of other studies. In other words, it takes all the studies that were done over a period of time and combines them together to create a larger study group and to give us, a better idea. And in July of 2019 in Sports Medicine Journal, there was a meta-analysis study published looking at 19 studies between, I think, 1970 and 2018 that were looking at the benefits of exercise on human health. But more particularly looking at, were those benefits better or different in any way if you did one solid block of time, say an hour of exercise, maybe at the gym or in a class, versus what we call accumulated exercise, which would be done in short bursts throughout the day. And this was 19 studies involving over 1,000 participants. So a pretty good number of people to see these results in. And essentially the bottom line is that there was no difference in the effectiveness between cumulative and a block of exercise all done at one time. There was no difference in overall fitness or blood pressure or lipids, and some of these other factors that we are affecting with exercise: glucose, insulin, blood sugar control. We know that exercise positively impacts all of those areas. And what this meta-analysis found in looking at all of these studies was that was validated in the study. It didn't matter if you did an hour-long class or you accumulated an hour of exercise throughout your day, you got the same benefit. What it did find, however, was that you were slightly better in the areas of body mass, and that would be your muscle versus fat mass, and your LDL, which is your quote unquote bad cholesterol, when you did accumulated exercise. So short bursts throughout the day versus doing everything all at one time. So there was a small argument, if you will, for accumulated exercise. But the bottom line overall was it was clear that exercise was critical. It really didn't matter how you did it. You were going to get the benefit from a fitness perspective either way. So that removes that barrier of time and of this perception that I have to do things for a block of time and I have to have, it done in a certain way. Because this meta-analysis was looking at all types of exercise: cardiovascular, strength training, flexibility. So it was, kind of overall looking at body movement. Now, there was another study in another kind of a larger review in 2018 published in the Journal of Medical Perspectives. And this was specifically looking at the actual health benefits of exercise, and again, looking at all types of exercise. And this is an article I would encourage you all to look at, because it's many pages long. But here's the bottom line: there are so many benefits in every single area of health that you could possibly imagine, right? Your cardiovascular health, your brain health, your digestive health, your mental health. So many benefits. And they give you many of the mechanisms of why that happens with exercise in this article. That I really highly encourage you to read through it, because it goes into detail for each one of these areas. You can find it on Google Scholar, and as I said, it was a 2018 article that it was called "The Benefits of Exercise," and they opened by saying that what they found in their review was that exercise directly impacted over 40 chronic conditions and diseases: diabetes, heart disease, and many others, including mental health issues like depression. So, out of all the pillars, every single pillar that we're talking about each week is so critical. And it is hard sometimes for me to, because when you think of a foundation, you think all four pillars are equal. Um, I don't see it that way. I believe that sleep is most important, because if we don't optimize our sleep, nothing else matters. Doesn't matter how much you move, because your body still won't repair itself if you don't get adequate sleep. If we don't manage our stress response and really recondition our nervous system to get out of the survival mode, then again, you're not going to be able to have much motivation for exercise, because your nervous system already thinks you're running. And so it will derail your choices around exercise and your motivation to move. And so I do see the last 2 weeks that we've discussed, or the last two pillars we've been discussing, still as your most important. But the reality is, all four of them have to be managed on a daily basis in order to create a solid foundation. So, I've been giving you this sort of prioritization, and I believe exercise does come up as number 3 under sleep and stress response management. And before diet, we're going to talk about diet in a couple of weeks, right? Diet is way down the list, because again, if we're not managing these other areas, nutrition is going to be really tricky, right? You're going to have a hard time being motivated about nutrition, hard time making good choices around your nutrition. So it becomes critical then that we really manage these pillars. And today we're really talking about the movement or exercise pillar. So I encourage you to go to Google Scholar, look up that article. It was just mind-blowingly obvious how important exercise is, and how important it is for the health span. So you've got lifespan, which is how long will I live? And then you have health span, which is how much quality will I have? And I don't know about all of you out there, but for me, I would love to live a long time. I'm 50. I just turned 59, and I have a young grandson and a beautiful family, and I love what I do with my patients, and I have all of these big plans for the future. So I plan on living a long time. But for me, it's more important to have quality of life, right? To be mobile, to be active, to be energetic, to be motivated, to be involved. So if I don't have those things, lifespan really doesn't matter so much to me. Health span is what's important. And in this article on exercise, they talk specifically about its direct impact on a person's health span. So I highly encourage you, especially if you're someone who's struggling with your motivation to move your body. And what I hope you walk away with today is the how-to list, right? That's what we've been doing the last few weeks, is I've gotten down now to brass tacks, and I'm telling you, in each one of these pillars, here's what you need to do. Here's the tasks. Here's the work, right? And if you're struggling with the work, then you've got to go back to the middle of this series where I talked about the why and really moving yourself into commitment. You've got to get to a place where you can be committed. So when it comes to exercise, there's a few things that I would say as far as the how-to. First of all, it should be every day, right? You really should be moving your body on a daily basis. Now, some days it can be more and some days it can be less, but we really, especially now that many of us are much more sedentary, right? We're home, we're in front of our computers, we're not going out necessarily to gyms, and maybe not gathering with groups that we may have been active with before. And so we have to make more of an intention to be active. And it really is important, I think, now to consider how you can get movement into your schedule on a daily basis. And so that takes me to really, I think, number one most important piece of the how-to here is it has to be planned ahead and scheduled, just like everything else that we do, right? I am here with you today at 9 a.m. Wednesday. I don't miss it, right? So when it comes to exercise, it's important for us to also have that as our, sorry, it says my connection's unstable, so I was just checking it. It's very important that we've thought ahead about what we're going to do and that we put it on our schedule. So I'm going to give you a real life personal example. Today is Wednesday. So on the weekend, I was traveling. I don't know. I don't know how many of you were aware of that. I was out of town. That's why the last week was a recording rather than a live, but it was a live interview that I did with Crystal, and then I dropped it as a recording on Wednesday. And it became really critically important for me to schedule my activity because I was on the road and I was traveling. So I had to look ahead every day at where I was going to be. Was I staying in a hotel? You know, what was my options? Was there any kind of a gym possibility? I have things I carry with me when I travel that make things a little bit easier. And I planned it out. For this week, I'm home. And so on Sunday, I look at my week ahead, and every day I have scheduled on my schedule what my exercise is going to look like. Okay. So Monday, I had a strength training. And for me, I have a combination. I work out with a trainer. I use an app on my computer to do things like yoga and sometimes cardio exercise if I'm traveling. I have an exercise bike here at home that I use. I have a little home gym set up. But there's many, many times where I do not have the time or the ability to do a class or to ride my bike for an hour, or that I just have a few moments in between things. And Wednesdays happen to be that type of day for me. So I generally will do short bursts of exercise. My plan for this week on Wednesday was short bursts of exercise in between my patient calls and in between my something like this activity for me today. So it's a variety. The idea here is that you're doing a variety of things that work within your schedule. So the number one most important thing is that it's got to be scheduled and planned. You have to look at your week and say, on this day, I can do this. On this day, I could get up an hour earlier and I could do a class. Or on this day, I am going to be super busy and all I'll be able to do are short bursts of exercise. And then be clear about what those are going to be and when you're going to do them. Again, it has to be scheduled. The other thing from a to-do perspective is that you need to have the variety in the type of movement. All of the studies that I looked at that talked about the benefits of exercise talked about those benefits as a variety of types of movement. Cardiovascular, where you get your heart rate up, that would be riding my bike, or doing a cardio, hit a high intensity interval training workout on a YouTube video, for instance, would get my heart rate up. Or just literally, if it was a burst of cardiovascular stuff that I'm going to do today, I would just stand up right here next to the desk that I'm at and do some jumping jacks or some squat jumps, or I have a rebounder, which is a little mini trampoline that I have always set up right next to me. I can get on there and march in place or jump up and down for 4 or 5 minutes. I get my heart rate up, sit back down, get back to work in an hour, get back up and do that again. So cardiovascular. Strength, that's where you might use some weights, but you can use body weight. Again, you don't need any special equipment or clothing to keep yourself moving on a daily basis. Right now, if I've opted to ride a bike, then I'm going to need a bike. If I've opted to do weights, I'm going to need weights. But that's not an excuse for me not to do those things on other days or when I'm in places like traveling where I didn't have that stuff available. I didn't have my bike. I didn't have weights. I turned on a 10-minute class on an app that I use, and I use my own body weight, right? You can do push-ups, you can do squats, you can do lunges, you can do all kinds of things with your own body as the weight. So that's really what I want you to understand is you have to remove your barriers, right? You have to plan and schedule, and you have to set it up so that you'll win, that you'll succeed, that you aren't going to have barriers of, I don't have the right equipment, or I don't have the right clothing, or I don't have enough time. Okay, so giving you an idea. And again, the types of exercise should be varied, right? Cardiovascular, strength, you can use your own body weight, and then flexibility, right? That's things like stretching and yoga, where you're getting more flexibility to your musculoskeletal system. So think about, as you're planning and scheduling your exercise for the week, think about these three categories and choosing movements from those three categories. You can do a little bit of all of that every day, or you can have a cardio day, a strength day, a flexibility day, right? So some of the tools that you can use that I find really helpful. I love videos and apps that kind of coach me through it. And YouTube is just full of free videos that you can use, whether you're traveling or you're home, for all of those types of exercise. There's great cardio videos, there's great strength training videos, both using weights and using body weight. And there are also some great yoga and other flexibility types of videos that you can access on YouTube. I love the Peloton app. I do have a Peloton bike, but you do not have to own any of their equipment. You can just simply use their app. It's not expensive. It's a small monthly fee, but they have such a variety of options available, and you can filter it by time. So if I've only got 10 minutes this afternoon, I can do a 10-minute cardio or a 10-minute body weight strength class or a 10-minute yoga type class or stretch. So I really like their app, the way that it's set up. You just have so much variety. It's always with me. I can access it on my phone. I can access it on my laptop. It is my go-to when I'm traveling. And it's a go-to for me also when I have a really busy day and I only have a few minutes to do things, and I want to use an instructed type of class. So I love the Peloton app for that reason. But there's tons of other apps. Work It, there's a ton of apps out there. You have to just find what you like and what works for you. But another thing that I really love as a tool is a rebounder. It's just a little mini trampoline. You can buy it inexpensive on Amazon. If you're worried about your balance, make sure you get the one that has the handlebars on it. But otherwise, it's a relatively small amount of space that you need for it. And you can have it right next to your desk. So it's always there and available for you. And you just simply have to get on it. You can walk in place. You can march high knees in place. You can jump. If you want to do more extensive exercise on it, you can find videos on YouTube for doing rebounding exercise. But I like it just for that busy day where every hour or so I'm going to get up and I'm going to move my body a little bit, and then I'm going to sit back down and get back to work. I don't even have to leave the room. There's some great, you can just Google the 5-minute office workout or the 7-minute office workout. And these are designed for people who are in an office setting. You're dressed in a suit or a dress and heels, and you're going to do a workout right in your office at your desk, right? It's using your office environment to help you get some movement. So the key here, guys, is first of all, plan, schedule, right? So know ahead of time. It's very hard to be spontaneous with movement. So really know ahead of time. Plan to do it every day. Know ahead of time exactly what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. And then give yourself as many tools as you possibly can, so that what we're doing here is erasing all these excuses and barriers for why we are not getting the work done. So again, this is week 14. We are into the work now, the commitment. If you're just joining us, go back and look at the rest of it and understand how to move from being interested in this to being committed. I can't tell you enough, guys, how important exercise has been in my life and my health over the last decade, especially. It's one of the reasons why I am probably in the best shape at 59 than I've ever been in my entire life. I'm disease-free, I'm healthy, I'm active. I just spent a week with a 2.5-year-old, and I had a blast and did not have any issues where others that are my age may be struggling with how to keep up with a youngster like that. So the idea here is to build a solid, optimal health foundation to protect you from disease going forward. But right now, guys, it's about getting resilient to what we're currently facing in our environment with COVID, and it looks like we're in for the long haul. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Next week, I intend to have a very special guest on that I'll be interviewing for more detail and probably some really good tips and tricks on exercise and its importance for your health and the benefits for health. So great to be with you all again today, and I look forward to being with you all again next week. And again, if you have questions or anything, please reach out. Take care, everyone.